Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Building Authentic Trust with Remote Teams, presented by Director of Leadership Training at Watermark Learning, Andrea Brockmeyer. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'll be assisting in moderating our session today. We are in Zoom for today's webinar, and we will be sharing a copy of this recording with you in an email after the session. We do encourage participation throughout the session, so please use the chat or that Q&A option for our short Q&A after the presentation. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today. So without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Mariela. And hello, everybody. Greetings. Welcome. Super jazzed about this topic today. And I really want to hear from you folks. Find that chat and please chime in here. I want to know what your thoughts are about this because there's a lot happening with this whole remote team thing, at least in my circles, just a lot going on. So, yeah, so of course, how did we get here? Uh, how many years ago now? My gosh, we're mid 2025. So what are we looking at? March of 2020, and we all flew back home from the office. Although I think one of the things that people kind of forget is that we were moving towards remote working anyway. There was a lot of remote work going on prior to COVID, but certainly that moved everybody out. And then we kind of got comfortable with that, made arrangements, got everything all set up, and we were kind of clipping along there. And now, now, now we're moving back somewhat. Some people a little bit, some people a whole lot. So I would really like to know what your thoughts are. And I've got a little poll here. And of course, our polls are anonymous. Where are you at with where you work? And so you should see a poll on the screen. And so go ahead and take a look here. I'm trying to get at where you are and sort of your sentiments around that. I don't know if I have every option covered. Maybe there's more than one. You could have more than one answer to this. All right. Oh, excellent. Great. Couple of few more seconds here. We've got awesome participation here on this. Takes a little while to read through them all, doesn't it? A lot of options. Okay, about 10 seconds to weigh in. And I had no preconceived notions about what we were going to get here. Awesome, great, thank you. Okay, so what have we got here? Take a look at this. So most folks are remote 100% of the time or hybrid, and they like it that way. A few folks wish they were in the office more. A few folks about even there within the office full time, like it in the off, or wish they were in the office more. I wish I worked remote more. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I thought maybe that would be higher. A couple of people have gone back to the office and are happy about it. A couple of people, and only a few people have gone back and are not happy about that. Good. Okay. Well, that's great. I thought I wasn't sure what I was going to get here. But it sounds like there's maybe less discontent than I was expecting. And so that's a good thing, I think. But that remote and hybrid seems to be something people are certainly enjoying. So any surprises or comments about that? Anybody surprised by those results? Yeah, just keep the chat thing going. I'll try to keep an eye on it. So I do definitely want you to make this your half hour here. I'd go into the office more if it was only, yeah, just for the socialization, right? The distance thing is huge. And here in Minnesota, I'm in Minneapolis, and here in Minnesota, we're seeing the shift in like, okay, what is the circle? Yeah. Curious about industry differences too. Yeah. Yeah. You would hate to be fully remote again. Yeah. The feelings are strong for sure. Yeah, surprised at those who want more at the office. Actually, there's a generational thing. There, younger folks would like to be in the office more, which actually makes sense if you think about it. Because when how many people that's where they get their friends, right? Or how many people meet a partner, at the office. So if you imagine coming out of college or you imagine, getting your first job, if you're working remotely, how do you meet people? So there's a lot around that. It's a big thing, right? Yeah. You've never been remote, you enjoy the interaction, right? And it's funny too because the whole thing about coming in, I think our perception is management wants people to go in to be more productive. And then people will say, I go into the office, my in-office day is my socialization day. It's not my production day. If I want to be productive, I stay at home for some folks. Yeah. Yeah. So at any rate, love all these comments. So trust in working virtually. These things are need to go hand in hand. And let's say working effectively virtually, right? What does trust have to do with work? Well, what do we need to be creative and innovative? We hear that all the time. You need to have safety. Safety is, of course, all predicated on trust. So people aren't going to be creative. People aren't going to be out there thinking of new ideas and being innovative. Think about the continuous improvement. If you don't have people feeling safe and trusting, you're not gonna get those things from people, right? So that idea of psychological safety is key. The other thing is psychological safety and the idea of agility. Now, that's a lowercase a. I don't mean whether you're working on scrum teams or things like that, but tempo is a big thing, right? We need to get tempo from what we're producing, what we're delivering, what we're achieving. And so people have to feel safe because sometimes that's going to mean taking some risk, right? Or sometimes that's going to mean just moving ahead before you get every I dotted or T crossed. You're not going to get that kind of tempo if people aren't feeling safe. When people don't have a level of trust, they're hesitant, right? They're hedging, they're making sure they get permission to do things. So that's a big thing. So you need to have that sense of forward movement, and people, that's what helps build trust, right? And I thought about, this whole movement of back to office. Is that a function of people not feeling like there is enough movement because they can't see it? And so when you're working virtually, there needs to be some sort of visibility into how we're moving forward. Because you think of it, if you are making widgets, it's easy to see the forward movement. You got a pile of widgets. Or if you're seeing patients, you can count the number. A lot of us don't really have necessarily a pile of things that provide evidence of what we're accomplishing. So that sense of forward movement is a big part of that trust too. Everybody has to trust that we are in fact moving forward, even if we don't have a pile of something to provide evidence. So trust. Go on to like Bing images or something like that and look any kind of your source for images and put in the word trust. And almost all of the images will show people hands touching or people touching, which is really interesting because it almost implies that trust is necessarily something where people are face to face. I mean, that's what we think of, right? Leaning on a shoulder, arm around somebody, holding a hand, that kind of thing. And so I thought that was really interesting. When you look for images of trust, it's hard to even think about trust when there isn't that sort of tactile element. So this definition of what trust is from Hurley is really something that I want to think about today. The idea that trust is the confident reliance on someone when you are in a position of vulnerability. It's a reliance on someone when you're in a position of vulnerability. So when you think about, is somebody else vulnerable to me or am I vulnerable to others? And in a virtual environment where you aren't face to face and you're only on camera when you're online, you're spending a lot of time by yourself. Do I feel vulnerable because there are things happening that I can't see or people doing things that I may not know about? Or do others feel vulnerable because they don't know what I'm doing? They don't know uh, what it is that I'm producing. And I think that's a really key thing. I think people can get a little angsty about that. Yeah. Their hands are connected. Lack of trust is a disconnection. Yeah, I love that. Exactly. There is that. It's that physical connection thing. That lack of trust is a disconnection. So I want to ask you, and I'm again, I have no idea. I haven't done this poll before. I want to ask you uh, another question real quickly, and that is, what role do you think trust plays in organizations' decisions to bring employees back to the office? And I have no idea what we're going to get here. Wow. Okay, about 10 more seconds. All right. Okay, so interesting. So about 70%, either a lot or the main driver, even and with some, um, another all but 5%. So interesting. I don't know, and I don't. I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of things that are driving it. I would think that at this point you can see evidence. I don't know. Is it that they're not sure what people are doing? I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting question. I don't know if there are any reactions. Yeah, production numbers exactly, Justin, demonstrate the trust. If productions are equal or high when virtual, what's the purpose for bringing people back? Yeah. Expensive brick and mortar. Yep, I think that's a huge one. I do think there is the collaboration. Yeah, there's so many different. It's a key factor, but organizations care more about what the employee can do for the organization. Yeah, trust, paying rent. Yeah, control with finances. Yeah, I just thought it was worth thinking about in light of this, what's going on, and this topic. I think it's a huge thing. Yeah. So I don't know. Thanks for your thoughts on that. I really appreciate it. Um, hmm. So, anyways, so things we can do to build trust. Here's a quote from Michael Reddington. And CFI is a certified forensic interviewer. So he interviews people like in situations to find out what their thoughts are, what they did or didn't do, and that kind of thing. And I love this quote. People interpret how we communicate as proof for how much we respect them. Wow. Right. And so how somebody communicates, do they respect me or not? So communicating respectfully is so key in a virtual environment. And boy, it wasn't too long ago I saw an example of somebody that just totally missed the mark on that. Talk about a lot of follow-up cleaning that up. But even simple things like acknowledging email. If you've ever worked with somebody who just doesn't acknowledge email or doesn't answer questions in email, right? I mean, this is communicating something, and that is going to exacerbate any problems we have that can't be addressed by meeting face to face. That whole sort of breakdown of trust in a virtual environment is not helped by that. The other thing is be concise. So I'm going to tell you, I just learned within the last couple of days. So a big thing for me has always been, with like email communications, the subject line of an email. And I've always been on the side of, more is better in the subject line, that people should be able to read an email, know what it's about, know whether action is taken, needs to be taken, or a decision or whatever. But you got to keep in mind, a lot of people are doing work on a phone, and a lengthy email subject line doesn't lend itself to very well to always to the visual on a phone. So be concise, even in the subject line, be mindful of that. I think that's always good advice. If something isn't a simple question, get on a video call. Boy, I'm doing that more and more. Even in the last few months, I've seen a big uptick in that. And just always remember, I had somebody tell me one time, in the absence of information, people will often make up something that's worse than reality. So, give people information. Yeah. Seeing social cues, JC, is hugely helpful. Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, really be respectful in your communications, be mindful, give some thought to it. Um, Virtual trust builder number two, make time to connect. So, give people time to chat, build it into the meeting time. People need, we don't get to hang over the edge of the cube and chit chat about the weekend. So we need to absolutely give people sometimes get a little angsty about that, that we need to get to business. And certainly that's important, but you need to allow people that time to just talk about what's going on. Check in with how people are feeling. It's interesting. I've got some folks that I work with that are very good about doing that. How are things going? Not what did you get done, that kind of thing, but how are things going? And it's a good reminder for me to do that with my direct reports as well, just to specifically ask that question because sometimes that can get lost when you can't see it. You don't have visual cues, or you don't see the furrowed eyebrow, forehead, and the sort of visuals that indicate that maybe things aren't okay. Um, and think in terms of warm ups or energizers rather than icebreakers. Icebreakers sometimes are not always, people don't always respond positively to the idea of icebreakers, but energizers when you're working in a meeting, whether it's just have people get up or just take a break for chit chat or that kind of thing. But make sure that you're not just sanctioning but providing time for people to chit chat. And then being comfortable with silence too, particularly in a group meeting. Some people just take time to kind of work through things, think about things. It doesn't mean there's um, disapproval or anything like that. Just we can have people, we can see people thinking in person, but we don't always see that when we're working virtually. And then back to the point, video calls can make a big difference with that. Um, Number three, generate good tool vibes. The tools that we use for communicating virtually get better and better. They become more, there are more options, but that doesn't mean that they still can't be really frustrating. And boy, tools that don't work can get in the way sometimes of making good use of time to connect and do those other things. People don't like to feel like they don't know how something works. People feel vulnerable when they feel, stupid about the tool. So make tool learning and tool use a group effort. Share with each other tips and tricks. I can't remember what it was. Somebody just shared something with me the other day. It was awesome to hear that. Start with a funny Zoom background. Yeah, it gets the team laughing, talking before the meeting gets started. That's great. Yeah, sometimes that's even a tool thing, right? It's here's what you can do with your video, the options in there. Sometimes even that lends itself. And it's like, oh, you know, helping people be fluid in that. Give people agency over the use of their camera. Encourage it and model it. But for the most part, the thinking is right now that making people turn on their camera is not really a great trust builder. You need to give people control. And so use it. The more you use it, the less you care about it. That's for sure. Um, and then facilitate effectively. Uh, so when we're online and people are trying to get their thoughts registered, trying to get their thoughts on the radar, it's important to just think about how do I facilitate effectively. And of course, the number one goal in facilitation is to make sure that every voice is heard. And you know, usually when we're talking online, we're talking about some kind of change. You don't necessarily think of it that way, but really it is if nothing needed to be changed, then we wouldn't need to meet. So there's some kind of change that usually we're talking about. And people feel a lot more vulnerable when they feel like change is being done to them than when it's being done with them. So we want to make sure that we're hearing all the voices. Um, yeah, yeah, making people, JC, making people turn on the cameras does break trust. Yeah, yeah, yep. Give them the choice. Yep. No, yeah, it does. It is so amazing. I can think of somebody that I worked with and that never turned on her camera, and now we always turn it on. And I'm telling, we laugh, we have a great time, we have really short conversations because we know each other so much better. It's much less formal. It's been a game changer, and I think they go hand in hand. Is the thing is that you build the trust when the camera's on, and turning on the camera builds the trust, right? Yeah, yeah. Um, Cats show off, right? Oh, animals. I mean, right? Isn't that a great way to get to know people, right? The cat's going across or somebody else. What do people like more than picking up their dog and showing people? I mean, totally talk about a connection creator. Love that. And that's just total levity. That's a little energizer, right? And then everybody's buzzing about their pets and and then off go into more business. Yeah. Too many faces up close. That's true. In a big meeting in particular. That's very true. That's very true. I mean, there's yeah, or the or the granddaughter. I could do that. No, I won't do that. Anyways, okay, facilitating effectively. So you want to make sure, if you have to, you know, write the names down, put check marks by people that are, participating. Provide options for contributing. You can do like, okay, we're going to go around and get an input from folks. You can pass if you want. But, some of those facilitation techniques can be really helpful. Um, make sure that you invite input into meeting logistics. Hey, folks, we're going to meet for 90 minutes today. Do you want to take a break? Should we take a break at 45 minutes? That gives people some control. That means you're listening to them. Um, oh, interesting. Design for equal participation. Now, this is interesting. If one person is remote, everybody should be remote. Now, I don't know about this. So that used to be the thing. They would say that if one person has to be remote, then everybody can be remote. And I mean years ago. And then they would say, well, if you have like say 5 people in one location, have them be in one room and then other people can be remote. But the potential there is for the people that are not in the room to be excluded. But now you bring people into the office and people will be like in the cube next to each other and they're all remote or they're just down the hall and everybody's remote. I don't know. I think this is an organizational culture thing. I think the thing to really look at is, do we get engagement? Do we get people actually contributing? And again, cameras, if you at all can, for sure. Yeah, breakout groups are that's a great facilitation technique. It's amazing. You can have a group of 6 people that won't say anything when everybody's in the room. Pair them up, chat, talk, 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 talk. Yeah, yeah. All right. Then the other trust builder, and I got to thinking about this one as I was thinking about this whole back to the office movement, I guess. I don't know, this trend right now. And thinking about, is trust an element of that? It's really easy when you're just by yourself in your home office. You know what you get done, right? You're busy every day. You get, some and you get that tempo and you're flipping along and getting things done, but other people don't see it. And so when somebody says, what are you working on? There are times when I've been so busy I can't even see straight, but they say, what are you working on? And I'm like, and I think I struggle to answer, or what I say is not particularly inspiring, right? It doesn't exactly build a lot of confidence. So, come up with some way of answering the question. So, what are you working on, or what's keeping you busy these days? keep track of your time, keep track of work completed, keep track of things that issues that come up that you have to deal with. And I think that can help too, so that when it makes sense, you can tell people, oh, yeah, on Tuesday I had this thing I was dealing with, or here's something that I've been working on. I know that sounds really simple and self evident, but sometimes it can really get away from you if you don't have a really easy way to do that. And maybe you just remember everything that you do, and that's not an issue for you. But if it is, I think it's just a good habit to get into, and it becomes kind of a comfort thing for you as well. So yeah, what else? Great comments here. Yeah, all right. Yeah, and that's a great point, Margie. So people say somewhere where they're having to be on camera, but it's the middle of the night for them. Yeah, great. And the avatars and play with that as a feature. Love. That's a great. That's a great connector too, right? Because that says something. People get to play with that, and that's making people feel comfortable and everything. I love it. Yeah, schedule dedicated water cooler talk. That's great. I love that. Yeah, do employees that work from home feel micromanaged or managed due to supervisors feeling insecure? I definitely do not. I don't know, that's an interesting question. It is a different, you have to be really, it's got to be management by objective, right? It's got to be what are you working on? Not like I want to know to the minute, but what output you need to have a sense of what the people that report to you are working on. Keep a Kanban board, that type of things that are on the backlog, things that are in progress, things that are get done again. And if it can be visual that everybody can see it, that is really powerful. That is a way to really keep people off of micromanagement mode. That's for sure. Yeah. And the audio too, boy, take the earbuds out of your ears and you're down having lunch and you forget that you're still on audio somewhere. I know that it's yeah, we get so used to it, we forget about it. Yeah. Yeah. Focus on the tone. Expectations, always setting expectations. Yeah, as a team, think about that. What are we gonna do? What are our thoughts about cameras? Is it okay not to have them on sometimes? Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe there are really legit reasons. So at any rate, trust, the one thing that changes everything for Cubby. I do not think that's an overstatement. Right? So, we would love to help you out with how to work effectively remotely. And Mariana, did you mention that class? And I missed it? Leading remote teams, we've got that class coming up. Here are some other classes that really can help you with working with groups remotely. Walking the dogs or something during breaks. Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, there we go. Building trust with remote teams. There's the link. Great. So thank you, everybody. You're so awesome. Yes, I was hoping to get some uh, chat going here and thinking about this. So thanks for weighing in on those polls. And thanks for taking your time today. Would love to see you in a class. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Look me up.
Thanks,
I'm on
everyone.
LinkedIn. Link with me if you'd like. Love to be connected. Hey,
Absolutely.
JC. Thanks.
Alrighty, and just as a quick reminder before we leave, if you missed out on any part of this webinar, we will be sharing a recording with all of you in an email after the webinar. So thanks again for everyone joining us today. Loved all the feedback and the chats.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Andrea, for all your amazing insights.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty,
Thanks,
everyone.
folks.
Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll hopefully see you very soon. Bye for now.